Good morning, all. So yesterday I received my package from Powder Blue Sports, John Turnbull. So I had him make a custom greatest teams franchise best non-championship winners. So this is technically this set of teams didn't win either a championship game or a Super Bowl. So I think he's going to make this set available in PDF for everybody too, so they can get this set. I ordered it in card, so I wanted it physically from him. So I want to make this clear for those, if he has made this available. You'll find in this set, it's not just non-Super Bowl winners, they're non-championship winners, meaning they didn't even win a conference championship. Because there would be people who would say, why aren't the 98 Minnesota Vikings in here? Well, because they actually played in a championship game, right? So many of these teams, 98, that's a bad example. Why aren't the 98 or 99 Falcons in this set? Or the 2018 Falcons or whatever, right? Because they actually won a championship. They won the NFC championship to get to the Super Bowl. So what I used to refine this 32 team set of greatest franchises was they could not have been in a Super Bowl, right? So these are teams that were all non-Super Bowl winners, but they're also non-Super Bowl participants. So these would be NFL's greatest teams, franchise best non-champions, right? They didn't win any kind of championship except the division title. They all would have won. Some of these would have won division titles. So, and again, this would be obviously my choices for my favorite teams in these franchises. They're not the best necessarily. They're my choices. So 1980 Atlanta would be my choice. So this set includes 80 Atlanta. And I also asked him to do the player finders. And it is in the 14D, his official version of Drive Time Football. It's the 14D. So I wanted to make sure when I ordered these that anyone out there could use them. So I wanted to use his official 14D, and I did ask him to make player finders. And they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. So they're the greatest teams that never won a championship of any kind. So 1980 Cleveland. So again, you could have 86 Cleveland in here. You could have 87 Cleveland in here. But I loved this Sam Retigliano, Brian Sipe, Dave Logan. I just love this 80s Cleveland team. This 80s Cleveland team was so much fun. The 1980s Raiders defeated them in a brilliant game, and the Raiders went on to win the Super Bowl as the first wild card ever. But this was a fun Cleveland team. 1984 Dallas. This was the beginning of the end in a way for the Cowboys. The catch was considered kind of the 1981 championship game where the 49ers had the catch that changed the 49ers into a dynasty, and Dallas then started to topple. But Dallas still had a couple of pretty interesting teams. But this 84 Dallas team, not great. But there was, for me, this 1980s Danny White led team was kind of the beginning of the end. But I wanted to have that 84 Dallas team in here. The 1984 Rams, again, this team had the best had the best season in history for a single running back. Eric Dickerson had 2,100 yards rushing for this Rams team, and was phenomenal. However, they would run into problems in the playoffs. So again, 84, because it featured a remarkable running back in Eric Dickerson. 1984 Seattle, this was just a fantastic team, 12-4. Again, they had the Raiders and the Broncos in that division. This was when the AFC West was so much fun to watch, and this Seattle team was damn good. So I got 84 Seattle in here. So again, these teams aren't perfect. These aren't teams that should have won the Super Bowl or were in the Super Bowl. These are teams that didn't even win the NFC. They didn't even win the conference. The 84 St. Louis Cardinals, fantastic team, 423 points. Again, they're not meant to be 14-1 or 13-1 losers. These are teams that were my favorites. Neil Lomax is the quarterback. You had Roy Green, Doug Marsh, Pat Tilley, Otis Anderson, Stump Mitchell, Earl Farrell. This is a brilliant team. By the way, I should talk about these. Steve Bartowski, the first $1 million quarterback. Lynn Kane and William Andrews are the running backs. Unbelievable. Alfred Jackson and Alfred Jenkins are the receivers. Cleveland had Brian Sipe, Calvin Hill, Greg Pruitt, Dave Logan, Reggie Rucker, Ozzie Newsome, Mike Pruitt, Charles White. So much fun. Oh my God. Okay. I think there's another team here, isn't there? No? Okay. That's weird. Where's Cincinnati? It's so weird. I guess they're not in alphabetical order. Okay. They're in chronological order. Okay. 84 Cowboys had Danny White, Tony Hill, Doug Crosby, Ron Springs, Mike Renfro, Duriel Harris, Tony Dorsett, Timmy Newsome, Ron Springs, Raphael Septien. Oh, man, so good. Los Angeles, Jeff Kemp, Henry Ellard, Ron Brown, Drew Hill, and, of course, Eric Dickerson. Fantastic. The 84 Seahawks had Dave Craig, Steve Largent, Daryl Turner, Mike Tice, Dan Dornick, and, of course, Eric Lane. Their running back situation for the 84 Seattle Seahawks didn't have, at the time, unfortunately, Kurt Warner, but this team was fun. Okay, 84 St. Louis, Neil Lomax, Roy Green, Doug Marsh, Stump Mitchell, Otis Anderson. The 85 Giants, you could argue, was the best team in the AFC and the NFC, except for the mighty Bears. This was a damn good Giants team. Again, they were in an era where the Bears, this was a great era. This was the Bears, the Giants, and the 49ers. This NFC was pretty tough at the top. Phil Simms, Bobby Johnson, Lionel Manuel, Mark Bavaro, Tony Galbraith. Joe Morris was the running back. So good. This defense gave up 283. The 85 Raiders. This is one of my favorite teams of all time. I was heartbroken when this Raider team turned over the ball to the New England Patriots, who went on to the Super Bowl. This Raider team was really, I hate to say it, they had a solid defense, and they were really a one-man offense with Marcus Allen. Well, two, Todd Christensen, Marcus Allen. But this was the year that Marcus Allen led the league in rushing and was league MVP. This kind of capped his career. He'd already won a Super Bowl, was already a Super Bowl MVP. But in 85, he proved he could lead the league and be an MVP player. Unfortunately, the Raiders had a bit of a inefficient offense, certainly passing. But 12-4, I loved this Raider team. Lester Hayes, of course, Todd Christensen, Dokie Williams, Jesse Hester, Marcus Allen, Frank Hawkins, Mark Wilson, Todd Christensen, of course, Howie Long and company, Lyle Alzado. All right, so that's the LA Raiders. And then, of course, the 86 New England. This team, I believe, actually was better than the 85 Super Bowl losers. This team, I just think all around was better. So this was a good New England team to put in here. Tony Eason had his best season, I think, as a pro. Stanley Morgan was top. Irving Fryer, Tony Collins, Craig James, Tony Collins, and were the chief runners. This is a really good New England team. The 88 Minnesota Vikings, baby. Wade Wilson, Anthony Carter, Hassan Jones, Steve Jordan. They had Alfred Anderson, Alan Rice. This team scored 406 points, gave up only 233. This was a fine football team. Look at those interceptions. 6 and 7 are interceptions. This Minnesota team was very, very good. The 1990 Miami Dolphins, 12-4. Again, solid offense, really good defense. Dan Marino, stud. Mark Duper, Mark Clayton, Sammy Smith, Mark Logan, Pete Stoyanovich was the kicker. A very good football team. So again, tried to pick teams that were some of my favorites that were not champions in any way. So this is really Jason's, I would say not NFL's greatest teams, but franchise best that didn't win a title or get to a championship opportunity. The 1992 New Orleans Saints, Bobby Hebert, baby, Quinn Early, Eric Martin, Dalton Hilliard, Vaughn Dunbar, Craig Ironhead Hayward, and Dalton Hilliard, Fred McAfee. 330 and 202 points against. You're going to find a lot of these teams had really good defenses. Outstanding. It's going to be a defensive league. 1992 Philadelphia. This was tough because Philly from 90 to 92, their defense was just astounding. I tried to pick a Philly team that also had a decent offense, but 1992 Philly I think was a good balance. 354 points, 245 against. An interception on 6, but a red zone on 7. So they can give up some plays. Their offense, again, has a fumble on 5. But Randall Cunningham, Calvin Williams, Fred Barnett, Pat Beach, Keith Byers, Herschel Walker, Heath Sherman. It's a quintessential 1990s Philly team with Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Vi Sikahema. Just a great Philly team. 1992 Pittsburgh, another really solid football team, 225 points against. Neil O'Donnell, Adrian Cooper, Ernie Mills, Dwight Stone, Eric Green. Barry Foster was the lead rusher here. Gary Anderson, the one and only Gary Anderson. Again, a team with a really good defense. Opportunistic offense, Pittsburgh, 92. In 95, they would lose the Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell against the Dallas Cowboys. 94 Green Bay. This was when Brett Favre was just starting to become a dominant quarterback in the Mike Holmgren San Francisco West Coast offense. Those who don't know, Brett Favre was anointed the starter after Dan Majkowski got injured again. Favre went in 92 and never relinquished the starting role again. 93, he showed flashes of brilliance, but it was 94 that Green Bay started to show what kind of quarterback and offense this team could be on their way to back-to-back Super Bowls in 96, 97. So again, this Brett Favre team, phenomenal season for Brett Favre, but this team had Sterling Sharp, Edgar Bennett. Again, I've talked about Bennett being one of my favorite running backs of all time, favorite fullbacks of all time. Robert Brooks, Anthony Morgan, and Ed West. Bennett and Cobb in the backfield. This team is so good. Again, offense a little better than their defense, but Brett Favre was starting to blossom as a West Coast quarterback. The 1995 Detroit Lions, what can I say? Barry Sanders was a beast. Holy cow. So why 95? This was the Silver Streak offense. Scott Mitchell had come over from the Dolphins, threw 32 touchdowns. Barry Sanders had, I want to say, 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns. Herman Moore, Brett Perriman, Johnny Morton. This was the run and shoot Silver. It was not quite run and shoot. It was the evolution to a 3-receiver Silver Streak offense by Tom Moore. Tom Moore would go on to become Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator for years in Indianapolis. So Tom Moore was the architect of this Silver Streak offense. Scott Mitchell looked like he was going to be the man, but Scott Mitchell's heyday was short-lived. But this Detroit team was so damn dangerous. 436 points, right? 1996 Denver Broncos. Holy cow, was this the second year in Mike Shanahan's tenure in Denver? He had turned the Broncos in basically 1.5 years into a dominant football team. And they got bit on the arse by the upstart visiting wildcard Jacksonville Jaguars. The Broncos could have been potentially 3-time back-to-back-to-back Super Bowl contenders if not for overlooking a Jacksonville team that was wily. This Bronco team saw Elway at one of his best seasons ever. Shannon Sharp was at his peak. Ed McCaffrey, Anthony Miller. They had not yet put it all together as far as that running game. But Terrell Davis had 13 TDs and 1,500 yards. This football team was really good, and they were bit in the arse by the Jags. The 1998 Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, why not 99? I don't know, because 99, I think, played in the AFC Championship, right, against the Tennessee Titans. So I wanted, again, teams that didn't necessarily play for championships. This team was 11-5, solid offense, decent defense. Mark Brunell, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, Their quarterback, Pete Mitchell. This was a really good football team. Fred Taylor and James Stewart, baby. What a brilliant backfield. Another of my favorite teams, Jacksonville. 98 San Francisco. This was kind of a turning point season, as they were San Fran was like, it was kind of the end of their run. Steve Young was still at his peak, 38 touchdowns. Terrell Owens had blossomed. Jerry Rice was still here. J.J. Stokes, Irv Smith at tight end, and of course Garrison Hurst carrying the rock with Terry Kirby. Mark Edwards, fantastic. This team scored 479 points, gave up 328. They were 12-4. Another very solid football team, this 98 San Francisco team. Boy, these cards are really good quality, John. 99 Buffalo. This is the Motor City Miracle team, I believe, but maybe not. I could be wrong about that date. No, Motor City Miracle. Yeah, this would have been the Motor City Miracle. Tennessee beat these guys on the crazy lateral pass that won the game. But this Buffalo team, I love this team. They were feisty, they were hard-nosed, but they had Doug Flutie, baby, starting. This was really the head coach, Wade Phillips' best chance at a title in his tenure as a head coach. Doug Flutie, fantastic. Eric Moulds, Rimmersma, Peerless Price, Sam Gash. They had Antoine Smith and Jonathan Linton and Doug Flutie carrying the rock. This team scored 320, gave up only 229. Another defensive-heavy team in the set. 2000 Indy. This is when Peyton Manning was on the rise, but had not yet turned the corner as a title contender. They went 10-6. He had 429, gave up 326. Peyton Manning, fantastic. Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, Ken Dilger, Marcus Pollard, Terrence Wilkins. Edgerrin James was a stud. Vanderjag. Oh my God, Vanderjag was their place kicker. Fantastic. It's going to be such a fun set. The competition in this particular set should be very close. 2001 Chicago. I'm a huge fan of Chicago. Still am. Again, why should this 2001 team? Well, they gave up 203 points on defense. They went 13-3. Jim Miller had a pretty good year. Who's Jim Miller? Well, there you go. Who's Jim Miller? But that's the point. They had Anthony Thomas, the big back, over from Buffalo. Leon Johnson, James Allen, Marty Booker, David Terrell, Fred Baxter, Marcus Robinson. This team had Mike Brown. Walt Harris returned interceptions for touchdowns. They also had McQuarters and Urlacher return fumbles for touchdowns. This is an incredibly dangerous defense. 6'5", 203 points. Good luck scoring points on Urlacher and this Chicago defense. Man, what a great set this is going to be. 2003 Kansas City. Why? Because Priest Holmes was un-effing believable. This team scored almost 500 points, went 13-3 in 2003. Trent Green was finally at his height of his powers, having been hurt when the Rams won the Super Bowl in '99, vaulting Kurt Warner to Hall of Fame status. Tony Gonzalez in his prime, Eddie Kennison, Johnny Morton. But it's Priest Holmes, 27 touchdowns for Priest Holmes, a phenomenal season. Could not wait. Dante Hall doing the kick returnings, had 2 kick returns for touchdowns and 2 punt returns for touchdowns. So when people say, why these teams? It's not easy to find a guy who returned 4 special teams kicks in one season, folks. Phenomenal with Priest Holmes. This was a dangerous football team. Damn good. 2004 New York. Why 2004? I've talked about it before. Chad Pennington, one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks. Couldn't stay healthy, but phenomenal. Santana Moss, Chris Baker, Justin McCarrans, Curtis Martin, Anthony Beck. Again, Curtis Martin, I've talked about it before. Of this era, my favorite back of this era, bar none. Jerome Bettis would be a close second to Curtis Martin. Yes, this era had Davis and Barry Sanders, but and of course the birth of Ladini and Tomlinson. But Curtis Martin to me was just an unheralded workhorse back. What a great season! Interception returns and fumble returns for touchdowns. This team scored 333, gave up 261. They will not probably be champions in this set, but what a great Jets team. 2005 Cincy. Oh my God, this poor team. They had a real shot. Marvin Lewis had a real shot, except the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs knocked Carson Palmer out with a knee injury, and that was it. Pittsburgh went on to knock Cincy out of this playoff run. This was a fantastic Cincy team. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, TJ Hushmanzada, Chris Henry, unfortunately, did not live long. I thought it was Chris Perry. One of these two gentlemen died. I think it was Chris Henry or Chris Perry. Unfortunately, was killed later, fell out of the back of a truck or something. Reggie Kelly. But we've got Rudy Johnson at halfback in a three-back set with Chad Johnson, Hushmanzada, Chris Henry. Their tight end was Schwabel. So pretty interesting. But they scored 421, gave up 350, and this team was fun to watch with Carson Palmer. Unfortunately, Palmer got knocked out in the playoffs. Pittsburgh took him out. The 2005 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why this version? Well, again, solid offense, decent offense, solid defense. Chris Sims, Joey Galloway, Alex Smith, Mike Allstott. This team had Cadillac Williams and Allstott. And 3 fumble returns for touchdowns. Not bad. This team, again, won't win this league probably, but the fumble returns, fantastic. They have red zones where they need them, opportunistic offense. And, of course, their defense, unfortunately, also, though, has a bit of a hole there. So this will be a fun team. Chris Sims, I just had to get the guy who couldn't get the play calls right, Chris Sims. All right, 2005 Washington Redskins. Again, this team had Mark Brunell. I've talked about it before. Brunell, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, with my favorite coach of all time, Joe Gibbs. So you put Brunell with Joe Gibbs and Clinton Portis. Man, I loved this Washington team. I really thought they were going to do more, but it just didn't work out. Santana Moss over. Chris Cooley was a fantastic tight end / H-back. Mike Sellers, big fullback. Liddell Betts, but Clinton Portis came over in a trade and he became the workhorse back. Rock Cartwright out of the backfield, Liddell Betts. This team had an interception return, a fumble return, and 2 kick returns. So again, very dangerous teams all the way around. 2006 Baltimore Ravens, Steve Air McNair in Baltimore, Todd Heap at tight end, Mark Clayton, Derek Mason, and of course Jamal Lewis was a beast running back. This team scored 353 and held opponents to 201, 13-3. Their defense had 5 defensive touchdown returns, 6 counting a fumble return. Again, another well-rounded team that could beat you with offense, defense, or special teams. Well, not special teams. I don't think this team had a special teams. No, offense or defense. This 2006 Chargers. Phillip Rivers coming on as they sent away Drew Brees to New Orleans. LaDainian Tomlinson with 28 touchdowns. Antonio Gates, Vincent Jackson, Malcolm Floyd. Unbelievable. This team had 3 fumble returns for touchdowns. 14-2, scored almost 500 points, gave up 303. This is going to be another fun team. Phillip Rivers, solid. LaDainian Tomlinson threw 2 touchdown passes on halfback tosses. Phenomenal. The 2010 Chargers are fascinating football team. For those who don't know, they finished the 2010 Chargers are the only team in history that was number 1 in offense, number 1 in defense, number 1 in special teams, and went and missed the playoffs. So it's very difficult not to squeeze the Chargers in. And why did I not? Well, for a couple of reasons. LaDainian at the height of his powers and a great record. But also, I have the 2010 set, so I didn't want to duplicate the 2010 Chargers. Why did I have the 2010 set made? Because the Chargers team are the only team in history that was number 1 in every category and failed to make the playoffs. I don't know how that Chargers team. I haven't replayed 2010, but it's hard to believe that San Diego team will not win the division if I replay that season. I haven't gotten to it yet. Oh, 2008 Carolina, Jake Delhomme, baby. Of course, there was a Carolina team that made it to the Super Bowl, but again, my goal was they could not be champions. They couldn't have won an NFC title. So I went with 2008, Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith, Machine Muhammad, D'Angelo Williams out of the backfield, along with Jonathan Stewart, a two-headed backfield that scored 28 touchdowns. Unbelievable. 28, 29, 30 if you count D'Angelo Williams' touchdowns. Brilliant team. 414 offense, 329. Again, very, very cool. Fumble returns for touchdowns. Nothing else there on defense, but another fun team. Again, will this team win it all? Well, that's why you play to find out. The 2008 Tennessee Titans, this team had Kerry Collins at the helm, Justin Gage, Ahmad Hall, Bo Scaife, and Crumpler at tight end. But Lindell White and Charles Johnson. Johnson off the bench with 9 touchdowns and a catching touchdown, 10. Lindell White had 15 short yardage pounds. This team went 13-3, scored 375, gave up 234. Another really solid, balanced team. They can do damage on offense, but their defense is good enough. They also had 3 interception returns for touchdowns. Very good. 2008 Tennessee team. And last but not least, 2012 Houston Oilers. This team had Matt Schaub at his height of his powers. Owen Daniels, one of my favorite tight ends in this era. And Andre Johnson, one by far, Hall of Famer Andre Johnson, one of the greatest receivers of this era, but he was on a bad football team for most of his career. And then we have Arian Foster running the ball with 15 touchdowns. Ben Tate coming off the bench. This team, again, scored 416, gave up 331, 12-4. They can score on interceptions with 3, and should be a great, fun team to play. So there's 32 franchises, none of which could be champions, meaning they did not win NFC championships, AFC championships, nor Super Bowl titles. And I tried to keep them less predictable. I mean, it's easy to grab the 99 Jaguars, right? Everybody remembers the 98 Minnesota Vikings, the 99 Jaguars. I tried to pick teams that aren't so valued, right? Teams that everybody loves. And also, these were some of my favorite teams. I can remember watching these teams during those seasons and rooting for them. I remember rooting for Buffalo. I remember rooting for the 2001 Chicago team. I didn't root for Kansas City ever. Hated Kansas City, but this was a great team. I rooted for this New York Jets team. This Cincinnati team I was rooting for. So these are teams that I was rooting for. I wanted them to go on and do damage. The 80 Atlanta team with the first $1 million quarterback. 31 touchdowns for Steve Bartkowski with Kane Andrews at backs. My God, man. And then some of these are just flat defensive teams. The 92 Philadelphia Eagles, phenomenal defense. Minnesota, a phenomenal defense. A good Miami defense. A brilliant Saints defense. They gave up 202 points. So anyway, I wanted to share this. This came in the mail. And I will be playing this. What schedule will I use? Well, I'll use a modern schedule, 32-team league. And I'll grab a schedule. I probably will use the 2001 or 2002. I want to use the schedule when the league first realigned into the new divisions, 16 teams in each conference, 4 teams in each division. That would probably be the very first schedule in which the league had realigned. So that'll probably be the schedule I use to play out this league. So that's done. I also ordered, I actually wanted the 1992 top 25 heavyweight contenders based on Ring Magazine. So Ring Magazine rated the 92 top 25. I left out the 25th. I wanted an even number of boxers. But this is literally Ring Magazine's ratings for the 1992 heavyweight rankings. Why 92? Well, because the difference between the top and the bottom is pretty narrow. There's a couple of guys in here that are pretty bad, but this was kind of at the height of the contention for the heavyweight title. I'll give you an idea. Riddick Bowe was the current number 1. Evander Holyfield, ironically, one of the worst boxers in the set, but we all know his legacy. Evander Holyfield's legacy is without question. Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. I mean, these guys this is a pretty tight top half. Donovan Ruddick, Michael Moore. I mean, let's put it this way. If we look at the difference in work rate, Riddick Bowe, the difference between the top and the sixth guy. Let's see here. Where's the sixth guy? There we go. George Foreman. So between 1 and 10, the difference is 6 points. George Foreman was ranked number 9. Top 9. George Foreman was number 9 with a 92. Riddick Bowe was number 1 with an 86. Next to him, again, Holyfield was currently at that time ranked number 2, but only a 72 work rate. But then behind him, number 3, Lennox Lewis at 86. Mike Tyson at 86 is number 4 at that time. This was just a highly contentious heavyweight. Donovan Ruddock, 80 at number 5, Canadian. Michael Moore, for some reason, Michael Moore doesn't have a flag. What's up with that? Number 6. So Michael Moore was a man without a country? What? Double M, Michael Moore, a man without a country. 84, number 6. Larry Holmes, at the end of his career, the Easton Assassin, 78, number 7. Ray Mercer, 77, number 8. George Foreman, 92, was 9th. And Foreman, by the way, would eventually be heavyweight champ of the world again. I can't remember. Did he get to the heavyweight championship before this or after this? I can't remember. I think he was champ 3 times. And Pierre Kotzer, I had to clarify this with the man John a couple of times because he thought it was supposed to be Jerry Coetzee. No. This was another South African, Pierre Kotzer. He was actually ranked number 10th in 1992 with a 79. The guy is pretty damn good, considering. And he went 39-5 in his career. I mean, this is a good football. This is a good boxer. The sore little hands, they called him. Frank Bruno, again, number 11 is a 92 work rate. Frank Bruno. So this was just a pretty interesting heavyweight class. Tim Witherspoon, 92, was number 12 at 74. Gary Mason, a Brit, number 13th in the rankings, 95 work rate. I have a feeling Gary Mason is going to rise to the top and be champion before I finish my 92 tournaments. Herbie Hyde, 90. It's 14. So you can see the quality from number 14 to number 1. These guys are so well matched. It's a set worth taking seriously. Tommy Morrison, 90. Number 15, also a 90. Unbelievable, Tommy Morrison. Alex Stewart, 87 at number 16. It's just an incredibly competitive heavyweight class. Francesco Dominini, 87, 76, number 17, Italian. Corey Sanders, another South African, 83, 18, 6'4". He went 42-4, so you can imagine the fights between the sniper and the sore little hands. Bert Cooper, the worst boxer. He's not the worst boxer in the set, but 70. He's number 19. He's 70. But, he's not horrible. But you got to have a guy in here that was kind of a journeyman, 38-25. There's your journeyman. Phil Jackson, 82. He's number 20. He's an 82 ranked. Went 45-13. The enforcer. James Thunder, 76 at number 21. Not bad. He went 35-14. Tony Tubbs, TNT. He's the worst boxer in here, 66. Number 22 ranked. He was 47-10 in his career. But again, this is not going to be completely easy pickings. Bruce Seldon, again, another 87. He's 23rd and he's 87. Look how close he is to being heavyweight champ. He went 40-8. So it's going to be remarkably competitive. And last but not least, number 24, Joe Hip, 77. He was the 24th ranked. And again, this is nothing to take lightly. Even Joe Hip, the boss. So every single boxer in here, save maybe 2, could probably become my champions over time. So I had this special set made. He even made a very cool card for it, a thumbnail, and I appreciate it. So those are the 2 things that I have received from Powder Blue Sports, custom card sets. The 92 top 24, Ring Magazine's top 24 of 1992 in order. So that's going to be great fun. Very competitive in that set. And then, of course, my favorite non-champion football teams in the history of these franchises. Are they the best? No. Are they the best runners-up? No. Are they, the most interesting? Maybe not. But they were teams that I personally, this Seattle team, for instance, I was a Raider fan, but this team gave me the nightmares, man. Seattle was, and so teams that I loved to hate. Of course, my 85 Raiders, this 88 Minnesota team, still love them. 92, and of course, this Philadelphia defense, so damn good. Green Bay, Denver, the 96 Broncos. So just a great little set. Again, I think these are both available on his website for free. You got to download them and print them, but I think you can probably get these in PDF. So I wanted to share them because I'm going to be playing a lot of this. Whether it's on the channel or not, I can't promise, but I will be playing some of these on the channel when they're big games. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.